Greetings and salutations, folks. My name is Nick, and welcome back to Beacon Pines, where we've left ourselves in a little bit of a precipice. Literally. In this scenario, Luca and Iggy have found themselves at the source. Luca's on the edge, holding onto Iggy. William Kerr is holding onto Iggy while in the pit. If Luca lets go, Iggy and William Kerr will die. If Luca does nothing, if Luca calls out for help, William Kerr and Iggy will live, but they will be captured. I've already experienced that ending, because I figured that ending would just end immediately, and that story would be closed off, and I was correct. Right now, let us see where it goes off if we decide to let go. Iggy calls out for Luca to do the right thing for once. Let him do the right thing for once. And you respond by accepting his fate.
Luca had no choice but to accept Iggy's request. With a quiet blink, Luca watched a teardrop sail down into the howling void. As his fingers slowly gave up, he met eyes with Iggy.
Good.
The two silhouettes were swallowed by darkness.
I mean, I have a hard time imagining that this is still going... I'm sure this is still going to have some sort of ending itself, and this is still not going to be the true ending. But we will carry on. Maybe we'll get a charm which we'll be able to use in another branch. Hell of a goodbye, Iggy. Luca, you should really step back. What? Quickly. Curious. But of course. Those fireworks of Iggy's must have been just the right amount of energy. We should get out of here before perennial harvest arrives. Not until you tell me what just happened. Your friend's sacrifice just saved this town. For a little while, anyway. How? Tempus liquamine is a peculiar substance. It can change the relationship between matter and time itself. But doing so requires unfathomable energy. In a closed system, that energy can only come from its surroundings. A useful side product of this property being, by adding precisely the correct amount of energy to it, one can create a cryogenic cascade. So the gunk makes things cold and the fireworks made the hole freeze over? That's one way of putting it, yes. As dumb luck would have it, the fireworks weren't strong enough to generate a runaway reaction. I shudder to think what would have happened in that case, which again makes me feel as though Grandma got the suit and the barrels of explosive with the intent of dropping them into the source, and that is what's causing the big chill.
We have some idea what that would look like.
We have experienced that ourselves. It would take them a good while to safely break through and access the source again. If you know all of this stuff, why aren't you helping? I have been in my way. Each of us has our role to play. Iggy's role, it turns out, was to buy us precious time. Mine has been to observe and wait. Wait for what? You? Me? Why? What's my role?
A fierce twinkle flashed in Nat's eyes.
Luca Van Horn. You are going to save the world.
With a chuckle, Nat turned and walked west. Dumbfounded, Luca followed behind him,
Wait.
trudging through the snow.
Does the whole big chill, is that just freezing over the town, or is that freezing over the entire world?
Every
'Cause
step taking him further away from everyone and everything he knew, and closer to destiny. To be continued in Beacon Pines, Pines Harbor.
Yes. Everything about that is brilliant. I love it.
Revenge served cold. Second time's a charm?
How many subtitles do we need?
Wait, that's it? This ends with a crummy cliffhanger just when it was getting good?
Yeah.
I was even starting to like Iggy. No way. I refuse to be associated with some never-ending parade of sequels.
But what about Beacon Pines 3 Tokyo Drift?
Let's go back and find something more definitive.
Alright. So that we've closed off. The only path we have now is good cop, sly cop. So they searched Grand's basement in this other alternate timeline. Mr. Tullier? He came down, and now we're interrogating him. Good cop, sly cop.
They'd run the classic good cop, sly cop interrogation. Luca and Rollo ducked behind a barrel, leaving Beck to her task.
Oh.
With a few crisp snaps, she roused Mr. Tolliver.
Mr. Tulliver. I keep forgetting the exact phrase of his name. Wow. What's going on here? You're that Modeville girl. Please, call me back. Sorry about this.
Mr. Tolliver looked down and shifted a bit, testing his restraints.
It seems there's been a mix-up. You see, I'm down here for the same reason you are. Juniper sent you here?
Beck caught herself before letting the surprise manifest on her face. She'd already gotten him to reveal his relation to Gran. This was gonna be easy.
You know how Juniper is with her precautions. Operation Sparkplug has us all on edge. I guess she thought you needed some backup. But she sent a child? What better way to avoid prying eyes? Who would suspect a kid? I suppose that makes sense.
Mr. Tolliver wriggled a bit in his restraints.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Beck quickly removed the ropes.
Very sly cop, I've got to say. It's also interesting how everyone has their strategy. Like, Luca isn't really sure what he's doing. Rollo just does everything he's seen in the movies. That had to be uncomfortable. A little, yeah. But you understand. We never know who to trust in this town.
Mr. Tolliver rubbed the growing knot on his forehead.
Very true. So it turns out we're both here to...
Beck twirled her hand, as if to prompt Mr. Tolliver to finish her thought.
destroy the
Beck
evidence.
shook her head and clicked her tongue.
Yep, the old gal is nothing if not thorough.
Mr. Tolliver let out an amused huff in agreement.
She sure is. Can't blame her, though. If anyone were to find out that we're going to destroy the source, well, we both know how bad that might be. No one will know anything once I finish cleaning things up down here.
Beck was on a roll now, playing playing Mr. Tolliver like a fiddle.
This is now how many times is played like a fiddle show up in video games? I wonder if there's a top 10 of played like a fiddle. You're sure you can finish this up on your own? Juniper trusted me for a reason. You can leave the rest to me. Good. There's one more loose end I'll go work on. Loose end? Oh, it's nothing really. The other day I had the radio on scan while stocking the candy shelf. And wouldn't you know it, I intercepted an odd phrase in a perennial harvest transmission. Underground secrets. That's ominous. I think it might be a password, but Juniper dismissed it. Said it wasn't mission critical. What's the password for? We don't know. So we have a password and nowhere to put it. It's gotta mean something, right? Good thinking. You should probably go work that out. I've got this under control. That's a relief. Between you and me, this basement gives me the willies.
Heading for the stairs, Mr. Tolliver hesitated and turned to Beck with a puzzled look. She grinned and gave him a peppy wave. With a shrug, he continued up the stairs, whistling a jaunty tune.
You guys catch that? Sure did. This whole time, Mr. Tolliver's had a candy shelf, but all he ever sells us is apples.
Beck blinked slowly in disappointment.
You gotta focus on the priorities. The password, Rolo. Oh, well, sure, but once things are back to normal, I'll be having a word with Mr. Tolliver about that candy shelf. Fine. In the meantime, I've got an idea.
She turned to the table and began tearing small scraps of paper.
He said he had heard a password on the radio. Any good spy transmission is never what it
Beck
seems.
marked each scrap of paper and leaned back.
We just need to find the hidden meaning. Okay. What's another word for underground? Buried? Covered? Could it be a cover-up? Maybe it's one of these, each letter is a number thingies. So U would be 21. N would be 14. D would be... Oh, it's an anagram. Nuncrete's drugstore. I am impressed. I'm not very good at anagrams.
Luca and Beck looked at Rolo with amazement.
Rolo, that was incredible. Well, it's either that or Kren's new drugstore. No, you're good. You're fine. Yeah, you were right the first time. How did you do that? What can I say? I love ciphers. Well, I guess we know where to go next. All right. The investigation continues. What are you doing out here? You scared me half to death. Sorry. You kids haven't seen Mr. Tolliver around, have you? Nope. He's got me waiting around like the last slice of pie. I swear that man would be late to his own funeral. I hope that you are not... a little bit accurate about how late he is. You're late, Augustus. Sorry, sister. Was caught up with work. Work? You? I had a few more details to lock down for the festival. Oh, what do you have to report? What is this insipid town festival really about? I think
Looked around nervously.
Mr. Kerr really does just want to do something good for the town. He's actually a pretty nice guy. You should spend some time with him. I didn't pull strings installing you as mayor so that you could make friends. Your job is to help me figure out what Care and Perennial Harvest's true intentions are with this town. We have a responsibility. This is our father's town. Was. Excuse me? This was our father's town. He's gone, Eris, and he isn't coming back. Father left us with nothing but problems. Mr. Kerr came here and offered to help us. We accepted that help. We didn't agree to them turning Father's warehouse into a toxic dumping ground. That is just a temporary arrangement. The glow can be seen from our damn backyard. They're dumping their nasty little secrets on us. When this all inevitably goes wrong, who do you think will be blamed?
Eris's cry hung in the air.
We have a new choice to make now, sister. This town is going to change whether we like it or not. Are we going to choose to be part of that future? Or be forgotten in the past? It's a shame. Father named you Augustus, but you will always just be a Gus. Good night, Eris. I'll see you at breakfast tomorrow. It's getting late, children. And yet you're still walking around town in your impeccable suit, and she's still reading her book. Knowledge, he spat with a sneer. There exists a gulf between knowing something and being able to do a damn thing about it. I do hate it when the villain makes a good point. Again, ties in directly to the main story. Knowledge. We know what the source is. We know what is causing it to explode into the Big Chill. Oh, we'd better get to Nuncreed's. But we don't know what we're actually supposed to do about it. I don't remember who you are as a character.
Solomon stood proudly at the entrance to the drugstore, holding a brown bag overflowing with black licorice.
Hey, Solomon. We're looking for Mr. Nuncreed. Is he still in there? I'm afraid not. Then where did you get the candy from? You might say we have an arrangement.
Solomon shoveled a surprising amount of licorice into his mouth.
Sometimes it's the small pleasures in life. Though we might not always have family to rely on, licorice has never let me down. Well, I can't say licorice would be my first choice, but whatever floats your boat. You can tell a lot about a person by their choice of confection. Oh, yeah, I guess. I like sour gobs. I'm certain you do. I always wondered why Mr. Nuncreed kept licorice in stock. You must eat enough of it to make it worthwhile. There are many ways to earn loyalty. For some, it's as easy as cold, hard cash. Well, he's right. It's locked. There's gotta be more clues. Okay, let's see. Well, we know the phone. Have you ever seen anyone you actually use this thing? Besides Mr. Nuncreed, no.
Beck cupped her hands on the glass to peek inside.
This is not a normal phone booth. It's got like a blinky keypad. Why would there be a blinky keypad? Kren's nude rug store. I mean, underground secrets. The password.
Beck flung open the door and they all squeezed in.
All right, let's see here.
Cracked his knuckles and entered the letters into the keypad.
Underground secrets. Sounds like that did something. Great. Now what? I guess we are.
The inside of the phone booth dropped loose from its shell. Without even the space to panic, they closed their eyes, held their breath, and accepted their fate. Suddenly, the chaotic descent slowed to an effortless landing. It was unclear where they ended up, but at least it was solid ground. The air was stagnant and smelled vaguely of chlorine.
Oh, there's the cracked, suit. So that was actually probably Nuncreed who was wearing the suit at the time. I knew it. You knew there was a strange hub full of strange tubes under the phone booth? Of course I did. Didn't I say that? No. I definitely thought it. Luca, do you remember when I said how cool it would be if the trans-dimensional conduits from Hank Atomic issue 12 were real? Rolo, at one point or another, you've said that about every technology ever discussed in Hank Atomic. That's why I'm such a good predictor. See, that's why The Simpsons has been such a good predictor in regards to things, is because there's 1,000 episodes and they've covered everything. They're bound to get at least 4 or 5 things right. It looks like each of these has something written on them. Mining Operations Alpha. You guys have mines here? Not that I know of. This town is all farms and fertilizer, and a series of tubes. Pa always says you can trust a miner up to the point when they hit gold. Not sure how that wisdom applies in this exact situation. That's the thing about Pa, you don't always realize what he means until it's too late. This suit has a broken mask. So we have found our mystery warehouse creeper? We've at least found their hazmat suit. If it walks like a Nuncreed and talks like a Nuncreed. Let's not jump to conclusions. Just saying. Perennial Harvest main office. Oh, that's where sorry, wrong voice. That's where my mom works. What does she do? Science stuff? Is she involved in all this? We just moved here. How could she be involved? True. Valentine Fertilizer Warehouse. Isn't that where you almost got snatched? Yeah. Why would Perennial Harvest have a tube going to the old Valentine place? This is starting to feel like something big. That's a lot of buttons. Stand aside, Earthlings. I've read enough Hank Atomic to know my way around sci-fi tech.
Rollo's hands hovered over the field of blinking buttons.
Eeny, meeny, miny. Rolo, what did you do? Nothing. I didn't even mow yet. What was that? Hide. Where? There's nothing but weird tubes down here. Just get back. Oh, it's Mr. Nuncreed. What voice did I give Mr. Nuncreed? Shit. 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 Awesome. You all need to come with me now. We aren't going anywhere with you. Not until we get some answers. Mr. Underground Secrets. I told them it was an absurd password. But they love anything that makes them feel clever. They who? That's no matter. If I can keep you hidden until after the festival, I might be able to save your skins. We don't care about our skins. Hold on now, I like my skin. This all stops now, Nuncreed.
Joseph waited for a moment in silence.
You sound just like him. Who? Well, Walt. You don't get to talk about my dad. You know, your father and I were friends back
He
before
gestured toward the strange tubes.
all of this. That's a lie. It's true. I used to bounce you on my knee. What happened? Same thing that always happens. Reality, complications, life. We were a team, Walt and I. An idealistic doctor and a bright-eyed pharmacist. Both hell-bent on helping folks. So you were his sidekick? No. We were partners. He helped the patients and I helped him. Yep, total sidekick.
Nancreed let out a growl of a sigh.
Luca, I need you to know this. I need someone to know this. One day, Sharper Valentine comes to us. Says he's got an opportunity. He'd found something he didn't quite understand, and he was willing to pay us both handsomely to help him understand it. And my dad said no. Your father and I both believed in helping people, but the thing I could never get him to understand was, it's a lot easier to help others if you help yourself now and then. Classic sidekick into villain plotline. Walt loved being righteous, almost more than he loved his family. He was wrong about one thing, though. When he begged me not to take Valentine's offer, he said, Joseph, if a man says yes one time to Sharper Valentine, he'll make sure they keep on saying yes to him until the day he's dead and gone.
He shook his head wistfully.
Sharper's long gone, but he's still got me saying yes. Is there a point to this sob story? Not really, no. Just an old man trying to delay what needs doing.
Nancreed took a menacing step towards the children.
I tried to keep you safe. I tried to keep you and Juniper out of this, but you forced my hand.
Luca began to laugh.
What? You really don't know? My gran isn't out of this. She's been scheming right under your nose. Juniper? Seems like she's planning on crashing the town's party. She's going to disrupt the festival? Why would she?
The color drained from Nancreed's face.
How does she know? Apparently, she knows a lot of things. What? Let's just say this isn't the only underground lair we've busted into today. And honestly, hers is way cooler. She's got maps and explosives and bad intentions, big man.
Nancreed grabbed Luca by the shoulders. His eyes were frantic.
You need to tell me what she's going to do right now. She doesn't understand what it is she's messing with. Tell me now, she's in danger, boy. I don't know. She had a map with a mark on the fountain in the town square. And the reason why the mark is on the fountain is because that's where the source is in the original version of Beacon Pines. The fountain, but why would...
A jolt of realization struck Mr. Nancreed.
She knows about the source? What the heck is the source? If she tries to destroy the source, it could catalyze and... Dear God, she's going to freeze us all! You all need to run! Run where? Oh, away. As far away from this town as you can get. Head west and don't look back. That did not go how I expected. So, we're totally following him, right? Totally. See you on the other side. You good? Yep. I love this town.
Chapter 8. The Cold, Hard Truth. Beck leapt up, allowing the suction to yank her into the dark. Dimness eclipsed around her like the shutter of a camera as she seemed to cover great distance in mere moments. Her only points of reference were glints of upcoming turns, which approached with frightening speed, only to carom her gracefully along. She heard the tinny, distant echoes of Rollo's glee. Once she stopped fighting against it, the ride was impossibly smooth. All of a sudden, as if minutes had passed in an instant, light blazed into view. A burst of wintry air snuffed across her face, and she was flung out into the cold.
That was intense. Yeah. Oh, I think I might have parted with some fluids in there. Any idea where we are? Somewhere cold. Doesn't look like it got on any of us. Thank goodness. It didn't feel like we traveled that far. So where did it all go? This place sucks. Why would anyone ever even want to blow something up out here? Only one way to find out, I suppose. We've got to catch up to Nuncreed. I think he went this way. This looks familiar, yeah. Maybe we can clear off the snow. No time, Nuncreed's getting away. We already know the answer to that mystery, I suppose. Although that's kind of interesting. Okay, this is starting to feel really familiar. The idea that, like, if you have a Groundhog Day situation, if you have, or like Edge of Tomorrow, any type of story where you have characters revisit plot points over and over again, like, what do you do to kind of, like, move your characters along plot points that people already know? Like, for example, Uncharted 2 begins with you in the middle of the story. It jumps back to you at the beginning of the story. You work your way back up to the middle. But when you get to the middle, as you're playing through that first section that you already played through, it does, like, the camera, like, passes by around the train as it's hanging off the side of the cliff, while inside the train, Nathan Drake is doing all of the jumping that you would have done that you already did in the beginning of the game. So, like, there's always tricks in regards to moving past elements of story that you've already experienced before when you're re-experiencing them again. I don't remember the title of a video game, but I believe there was a video game that I played through where you do repeat a section of story, and it just makes you play through the whole thing again. And it was the worst. I don't remember the name of it right now, and I don't think I ever will, because it wasn't a very good game. I may not be the most well-versed on all things Beacon Pines, but this does look like some sort of frozen replica of town. Oh, I got it. It's so obvious now. Mr. Nuncreed is an alien. Actually, we don't know what the source of is from, so the Nat person might be an alien, whoever they are, and the source may be alien in origin. Hello. Stick with me here. His species can only live in sub-zero temperatures. Oh boy, here we go. The source is their base camp dimension, so naturally they keep it cold. We found it by traveling through those metallic wormholes back there. The final objective, kill us all and shapeshift into a Beacon Pine citizen of their choosing. You never really had me, but you have very much lost me there. You get used to it, we should keep moving. I was already lost, and I got lost even further in your discussion.
To the frozen town square, they spotted Mr. Nuncreed inching cautiously toward a pit at its center. He held his arms out gingerly, as if approaching a beast in the wild. Upon closing the distance, Luca recognized what Nuncreed was after. Gran stood confidently at the edge, one arm outstretched over the abyss. Nearby, a wheelbarrow had been emptied out. She held a lit torch, which flickered in the bitter wind.
Juniper, I don't know what you think you're doing, but I assure you this is not going to solve anything. If you drop that, you've doomed this whole town. Oh, it wasn't me who doomed this town. I've been watching you, Joseph. I know what you've done. You and your co-conspirators.
Gran? What's happening?
Luca, you and your friends need to leave right this moment.
Mr. Nuncreed turned back toward the kids, desperation in his eyes.
Listen to your grandma, Luca. This is between me and Juniper.
Following back held steadfast in awe. Luca approached closer. Mr. Nuncreed spun back toward Gran, his voice growing louder.
You've got it all wrong, Juniper. Just hand over that torch. You don't understand what you're doing. How could I possibly trust you to do the right thing? Walt told me everything. He trusted you, and you betrayed that trust. Luca, did you know that this man's entire life is a lie? If it weren't for him, your father might still be alive.
Mr. Nuncreed winced with anguish. His voice hardened.
That's not true.
They both now yelled, not to each other, but at fate itself.
That's dramatic.
Making their peace with long-held burdens. The wind howled with encouragement.
Walt was like a brother to me. We just had different ideas about how to effect change. Very confident that your way just happened to line your pockets. Now that's not fair.
Men hissed at each other, both catching their breath. The moment balanced on a knife's edge. Amid a blur of emotions and memories, Luca's mind flooded with questions. The wind calmed, as if to give him the stage.
And in the stillness he began to weep or hum. Neither necessarily seems like the way forward. Let's try weeping.
And in the stillness, he began to weep. It was all just too much. Falling to his knees, Luca whimpered softly. The tears crystallized as they hit the snow. Gran stared at Luca for a moment with warm sympathy, remembering why this was all necessary.
This'll all make sense soon, Luca. Then everything can go back to normal. I promise.
He stiffened up and brandished the torch at Mr. Nuncreed.
You can't hide behind those people any longer, Joseph. Once their precious source is destroyed, we'll see where their loyalties fall. Juniper, don't.
Ignoring his final plea, Gran flung the torch into the deep darkness. She smiled and exhaled in relief. Mr. Nuncreed moaned in resignation. The torch echoed as it ricocheted down the hole, punctuated with a thunderous thud.
You see, Joseph, I've learned one very important lesson in life. If you want things to change, then you must be willing to.
Before Gran could finish, the ground shook her to silence. Gran only had time to spin around and run to Luca. Her attempt to shield him, an honorable but trifling act. Unflinching love, pitted against an unthinking horror, there was no contest. Her warm embrace froze in an instant. That is where they remain, fixed in place, forever. And so, our story ends on this melancholy scene. In a town brought low by its secrets, sits the frozen statues of a misguided band of meddlers. The end. Well, that was dire. On the bright side, we finally figured out where all the ice is coming from. Now, we just need to find a way to deal with a mystic, unfathomable force of nature.
Easy peasy. Alright, let's try humming, I guess. because that is the only path we have available to us. Also, this tree is like practically fully drawn in now, which makes me wonder how many other branches there are. Let us hum!
And in the stillness, he began to hum. After the death of his father, Luca had trouble sleeping. Each night, his mother would sit at the foot of his bed and hum a gentle melody. It was the only thing that could calm his mind. The only thing that, however briefly, could make it all seem okay. That melody pervaded every memory Luca had of his mother. Shivering in the raw snow, he began to hum it out loud. Gran lowered the torch, listening closely. As recognition slowly set in, her heart sank. Those countless nights of consolation.
Wait, is Gran his mother?
The incomparable loss they shared together.
And Gran had become... So the source is time itself.
She let the torch fall to the snow and sizzle out. A few steps toward Luca was all she could bear before dropping to the snow herself.
So his mom wasn't missing.
She began to hum along, note for note.
Okay.
Luca lifted his head in astonishment. The last time he heard that melody was the last night he saw his mother.
How did you know? I'm sorry, my little buckaroo. Buckaroo? The only people who call me that are my dad and your mother.
Luca blinked through blurry, watery eyes, trying to see more clearly. He could just make out the impression of a familiar face. He peered across the snowscape at the woman on her knees. Something about her was undeniably his mother, only smaller, older, changed.
Mom? That's right, buckaroo. Mom?
Luca sprinted as fast as he could toward his mother. They held each other close, and the cold retreated from their bodies.
Eleanor? I thought you were gone? You should have known I would never abandon my
Eleanor
son.
looked down at Luca, tightening her embrace in an appeal for forgiveness.
Which is why we know that Gran died, because Gran did die. How? You're a smart man, Joseph. I thought you'd have pieced it together by now. You were exposed.
Mom, I don't understand any of this. What happened to you? Where did you go? Why did you leave me?
I never left you. I was always right here, Luca.
Why did you lie to me?
It tore me up, Luca, but I did it to keep you safe. I thought that getting answers would help us both move on. But the more I discovered, the more I realized the danger we were in. Until perennial harvest was stopped, it was better if everyone thought I was gone.
You could have trusted me.
These are bad people, Luca. They won't stop until they get what they want. And they don't care who gets hurt in the process.
Then what do? We have to stop them.
Joseph slumped into the cold, wet snow.
They can't be stopped. This is too big. I tried beating them at their own game. I'm done fighting fire with
For
fire.
the first time in a long time, her voice felt like her own again.
No more lies. I see now. There's a better way to stop perennial harvest. The cold, hard truth.
Luca gazed down at Nuncreed with pity. He looked small. Joseph stared into the snow, as if searching it for answers.
Come on, everyone. We've got a party to crash. All right. Are we going to show up to the Perennial Harvest Festival and be like, hey, I don't know, that kind of almost sounds a bit on the crazy side. You don't all understand. He always wins.
Chapter 9. The Devil You Know. 7 months ago, Eleanor Van Horn crept down the maze of sterile hallways under Perennial Harvest. She stopped in front of the large steel door marked Deep Engineering. No turning back now. She raised a trembling hand. The stolen keycard worked as promised, and the door buzzed open with mechanical efficiency. She was immediately hit with the smell of disinfectant. It was some sort of laboratory. In one corner was a desk covered in papers. Across the room stood a tall metal pod with hoses protruding from its base. She rushed to the desk and began shifting through the piles of papers. They were experiment reports on something called Tempus liquamen. There were dozens of them. Every one stamped failed. Eleanor heard the sharp echo of footsteps approaching. She was out of time. Her eyes scanned the room, eventually landing on the strange pod. Muttering a curse under her breath, she dashed over and dove inside.
And that's what change is all about. Grabbing the future by the scruff of the neck and making things happen. Change is a choice. I am tickled pink that we will all be making that choice together. How great is that? This man is a liar. Excuse me. I will not. This town is a dangerous secret, and Perennial Harvest only exists to keep it hidden. Nonsense. They picked up a whole damn town and moved it right under our noses. You aren't making any sense, dear.
Mr. Kerr addressed the crowd with a sarcastic tone.
Imagine such a thing. It's absurd, just plain impossible. They promised they could fix the foul harvest. They told us they would clean this place up. We just had to leave town for a few days. But while they had us evacuated... Mrs. Hartford, I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to... You're afraid of a lot of things, aren't you? You sniveling little worm. This is growing tiresome. A little help, please. Don't you all see this festival is a sham? An excuse to have the whole town gather in one place. They're planning something awful. I don't know what, but these people are wicked. Don't listen to her. She has absolutely no proof. I am the proof. I'm Eleanor Van Horn.
Whispers filtered through the crowd.
Well, aren't you just sneaky as the dickens? We all know Valentine's fertilizer was too good to be true. And now this whole town is paying the price. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so sorry about this disruption. My associates will take this obviously disturbed woman somewhere comfortable, so that she can get the help she needs. She's not the one who's disturbed. You two-timing clown. You all know there's something wrong with this town. It was just easier to look the other way. The truth is... That's quite enough, Mr. Nuncreed.
Torment dragged on Joseph Nuncreed's face.
Yes, sir. Take them away. No, I want to see this. Ah, the tempestuous Eleanor Van Horn. You've been quite the thorn in my side, like a weed that's burrowed in where it doesn't belong. I must confess you look dreadful.
He paused for a moment, plucking a piece piece of fuzz from his sweater and discarding it to the ground.
Consider yourself in rare company. You've managed to pull one over on me. It won't happen again. I knew you had some sort of plan to disrupt our little party, but alas, I expected something a bit more impressive than incoherent rambling. No matter, your failures are yours to bear. Mr. Kerr. Yes, sir. Solomon is the head of the whole perennial harvest side? It's a shame it was cut short, but I thank you for that rousing oratory. I will take it from here. Yes, sir. Of course, sir. You have done quality work for me, William. You can look forward to the recompense we agreed upon.
Gave a bow of deference.
Founder, you are most gracious.
Gasps rippled through the crowd.
Thankfully, we can dispense with the formalities from here on out.
Pulled a glass vial from his pocket. In one smooth motion, he downed its contents. A triumphant smile grew across Solomon's lips.
You can call me Sharper
His
Valentine.
body and face began to contort and expand as he disappeared into a belching green mist.
So Sharper Valentine didn't die.
A hushed horror gripped the crowd. This
Okay.
is a story about change.
What? No! Ah, so you didn't see that coming. Good.
Sharper examined his new hands.
Well, this is quite the improvement. Everything looks so much smaller now. Eleanor was right about one thing. This festival was a ruse. I wanted you all to witness my glorious return with your own eyes. Why does everyone look so downtrodden? This is a celebration, people. Maybe it would help if we set the mood. Mr. Kerr, be a dear and reveal the sign. Ah, wonderful.
Sharper choked out a crude squawk of a laugh. Frustrated grumbles sprinkled through the crowd.
Sharper, you malicious bastard. Malice, all right. I'm glad you're back so I can tell you to your face. You destroyed this town. We ain't gonna let you get away with it again. Sorry, this is not the time for audience participation. Some assistance, Mr. Kerr.
William Kerr gave a subtle nod to the clipboards.
You coward! Does anyone else have something to contribute?
A helpless quiet settled over the crowd.
I thought so. Did you all truly believe you could be free of me, a town of complete and utter fools? You people should be celebrating my return. You're clearly lost without me, and that leads me nicely to my children. Daddy? Oh my gosh. Yeah, he kind of gave off the whole bootlicking vibe. I gave you both the greatest gift a parent can give. The opportunity to prove yourselves in my absence. Squandered. To say I'm disappointed would be an understatement. But Silence, Augustus, an adult is speaking. I don't know which is worse, a son who is completely hopeless, or a daughter with such potential who inevitably lets me down. Eris, you failed me with admirable consistency. Thankfully, I was counting on it this time. Father, I have been wasting time, my dear. What have you accomplished? I was focused on cementing our legacy. Legacy? Who needs a legacy when you can just live forever? But what about? It's all right, kiddo. I'm afraid you suffer from a complete lack of imagination. There's just no helping it. Now then, where's Joseph? You didn't take the opportunity to slip off, did you? Ah, there he is. Everyone should give him a hand. None of this would have been possible without Joseph. I think you've said enough. Nonsense, the people deserve to know how helpful and loyal you've been. I only did what I did because he left me no choice. You always had a choice, Joseph. You were simply too weak to take it. No matter, cheer up. You are about to be rich beyond your wildest dreams. You should follow Mr. Kerr's example. When I found him, he was in a sorrier state than any of you. An aging actor desperate to recapture his youth. He played his part and soon he'll be able to play the leading man again. Forever, in fact, if he remains loyal. All that goes for all of you. Well, those who haven't already frittered away my goodwill. Beacon Pines is mine again, and I am willing to share its spoils in exchange for absolute loyalty. Are you saying William Kerr was never in charge of Perennial Harvest? Ha! You think that puffed-up blather-snake could have accomplished all of this? Down, I suppose it's time for your big exclusive.
Sharper addressed the crowd with indignant pride. He'd planned this moment for so long that now, at the deed's fruition, it almost felt frivolous.
You see, I needed a figurehead to hold things down while I orchestrated my return. Someone to misdirect, lie, and bilk this town for a spell. So I invented William Kerr. Take your bow, you've earned it.
Mr. Kerr flourished a preposterously elaborate bow.
Patrick C. Montesquieu, thespian extraordinaire, at your service. Founder, I just want to thank you again for this opportunity. It was truly the role of a lifetime. Wait, so this Bill Kerr was a Pat C the whole time? Oh, God. Was a Pat C the whole time? Now that your secret is out in the open, what's to stop this town from rising up against you? Oh, that's the delicious part. Fear. Thanks to our clipboards, I know what each and every person in this town fears the most, and I will make those fears manifest for anyone who steps out of line. The choice is simple. I'm not afraid of you. Ha! The young hero. I've kept a keen eye on you, boy. You and your friends made a habit of disrupting my plans. What a pity. If things would have gone a bit differently, you might have had your moment of triumph. But that's fate for you. You can't do this. Oh, but I can. I have won. Never underestimate what a great man can do given time. And now time is my plaything. Perhaps the most expensive thing I've ever bought. But well worth it. Ha!
Sharper coughed up one final laugh and cracked his knuckles.
Enough chit-chat. Let's get to work, shall we?
And so, Sharper set about remaking the town in his own image. The fertilizer factory soon reopened for business. Sales rose steadily as more and more farmers across the countryside began to swear by its miraculous properties. Beacon Pines became famous, a secretive town that, for the right price, shared its gifts with all. Gifts that became more and more necessary in a world where winters grew longer and longer. The end.
So, Sharper Valentine gains immortality. He saves Beacon Pines. Beacon Pines' profits go up. But the world gets worse and worse because of the existence of the source, spreading its winter on everything. An inevitable destruction of the world.
Things are becoming clearer now. You can feel it, right? We can't let Sharper win. He might just be the key to this whole thing. Let's see.
All right, so I picked up a new charm. Where does that go? Malice. All right. That's where an Uncreed confronts you. Well, we're going to stop here for the night, though. Got any suggestions for someone to play next? Leave them down in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and have yourselves a good night.